This episode is brought to you by Bumble, who says Valentine's Day is just for couples. Just because you're not in a relationship doesn't mean you can't get out there and live your best love life. That's where Bumble comes in. This February 14th, you can flip the script and give those relationshipers a friendly dose of FOMO. Say no to staying in this Valentine's Day and yes to more. More dates, more first kisses, more gossip for the group chat girlies. Do Valentine's your way. Date now on Bumble.
All right, Joe. So, a little bit of behind the scenes here. We were supposed to record these episodes about a week ago. The 2 episodes that we're about to sit down and record back to back. But then we had to postpone it. But I had already watched this episode. So this one, you might have to hold my hand a little bit on this one because a lot has happened in a week to make me completely forget most of this. But this episode is called The Rivals. And I've mentioned this before, the theory that every single title of the OC has a double meaning. Because in this one, we're getting the double rivalry. There's the clearly established Ryan versus Oliver. But on the Seth front, a new competitor is entered, and his name is Danny. That also creates a little bit of controversy because Danny ain't trying to date Anna. He's dating Summer. Seth Cohen is fucking around on my girl, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. But let's get into this. This stems from Seth starting to realize that him and Anna are basically the same person. And I'm curious where you fall on that, because this is a discussion that comes up again in the next episode as well, where I think it's nice to date someone who is very similar to you, but you do need... I feel like part of the fun of dating is the quirks of the things that you're different about as well. Getting to introduce new things to each other and so on. Seth is like turned off by dating Anna because he feels like they're the same. It's implied that he feels like they're too similar. Yeah.
See, that's why I was like, this from the beginning, and even in my first watch, like, of the OC, like, the Anna Seth stuff is just a little too close to home. They're not endgame, and it's very familiar. And I kind of agree overall. Like, I'm not somebody who I do not want to date me. I have to live with myself. Which is, I mean, I'm not like a war criminal or anything, but it is difficult. I don't have to, I have to live with myself every day, and I want something and to be with someone who is different from me.
Spice.
Exactly. Yeah. I want someone who makes me want to be a better person or introduces me to things that I've never seen done before. We need to have touchstones. Right? Like, there needs to be things that we have in common, so that way we can connect, and eventually, as like a couple, we're gonna find things together that are our thing. But there needs to be very clear, like, this is my thing, this is your thing. You can come into my world if you want occasionally, but not all the time.
Well, I remember trying to date someone one time, and one of the reasons that they weren't interested, I mean, I'm sure that there was other reasons, but the gentle letdown reasons were like, I just don't like horror movies and I don't like D&D. And in my mind, I was like, who said I was inviting you to play D&D or watch horror movies with me?
Yeah.
Like, those are very Matt Kelly by himself activities.
Like, how presumptuous.
How dare you? But so that, Seth's battling with that. Meanwhile, Oliver, like a total psychopath, has now transferred to school and has made sure that his schedule matches Marissa's, which is pretty creepy. But Seth giving some of the worst advice I've ever seen is like, just embrace the friend, man. What bad could happen? Just embrace that there's a friend in town. And it's like, this dude, at one point I texted a friend today and just said, I think I hate Marissa more than I hate Oliver at this point. And I think it's because Oliver's not even like Oliver is wearing who he is very clearly on his everything. Yeah. And Marissa is like intentionally making herself blind to this stuff at this point in time. And that's like almost more frustrating. Like, don't get me wrong, Oliver fucking sucks. Yeah. But like her insistence to just ignore every single red flag, no matter how many people tried to point out the red flag, is like infuriating to at this point in the show.
It's like you really you have to you're actively working to be that dumb. Like,
yeah.
And again, like I think part of it is like the tenuous sobriety, right? Like anything at the verge like can be set her over the edge. And this is someone who she has connection with because they met in the waiting room and he started talking to her like a fucking psycho. Like,
yeah, breaking every single rule of therapy in a matter of seconds.
I get it. Like, yeah, he's your friend because of that. But then that's also part of the larger symptom of like what's wrong with her potentially is the fact that like, you know, she has no boundaries and is not able to separate those things. And so, yeah, it's completely like it would be one thing if, you know, he showed up after school, but like, you know, boom, I'm here, I transfer. I'm like, yeah, come on, girl. Like this is what people think of the girls who get it in the first 10 minutes of a slasher, right?
Yeah. Well, have you ever had, this is going to be a weird question, and this is going to be
I'm here for you.
Story that I don't think I've ever publicly talked about on a podcast, but we'll go there.
All right.
Have you ever had a situation where a new friend was introduced into your like core group and you couldn't put your finger on it, but you had a bad vibe about them, and then ultimately your bad vibe proved to be true?
No, because I'm usually the person who's the new person in a group.
So you're the one everyone gets the bad vibes
I give off big, you know, I got that BOE, that big Oliver energy. But no, I've never had that, and I think because I've surrounded myself now with people who like just kind of get it, and also I'm not afraid to like tell people. I'm like, hey, I don't know about this guy. Like, let's not invite them anymore.
It was my sophomore or junior year of college. So you have to understand, with me, I really struggled to make friends throughout all of high school. And then when I went to college, it was like this brand new lease on life. Suddenly, like, not only did people like me, but people liked me for who I was. Like, I wasn't putting on an act anymore. I was just being myself. And it was kind of fun. Like, it was like people thought I was the funny guy or the interesting guy or the talented guy. And then a freshman came in a year or two later. And for the sake of his anonymity,
we can call him Oliver.
Yeah, we'll call him Oliver. Is perfect. So Oliver shows up and everybody loves Oliver. And this actually ties a little bit more to Danny for a second, but it was like suddenly he was the funniest person in the group, and suddenly he was the super talented, interesting person.
Oh.
But something about him rubbed me the wrong way. And I was like, am I feeling jealousy that the spotlight isn't on me anymore? Or is like the gut instinct of like this dude's bad news accurate? That dude is currently in jail for a very, very long time. Was that just a coincidence? Or was there something in my gut that was actually saying, like, was correct in being like, this dude is up to no good, you should not trust him?
Is it my intuition, or am I just like a jealous asshole?
Yeah, like, and I'll never know the answer.
No, I think you know the answer because he's in fucking jail.
That is true. He is in jail. But it was like, as I was watching this episode, I was getting both of the Danny and Oliver rivals because, like, in the case of Ryan, it's no, this dude is bad. I like my every instinct in my body tells me that I should not be trusting this guy. And then on the Seth side of it, it's like Danny is a fucking dork and a half, but he seems harmless as hell. Like, let's talk about Danny for a little bit, actually. He does this fake Japanese dub thing, which was like all of the fucking rage at the time that the OC was happening. I'm not gonna hold them to a 2023 standard when, like, I think every single cartoon and TV show in 2003 was doing this bit. But what I love about this bit is how much Luke fucking loves this bit. Like, he is almost suffocating. He's laughing so hard at Danny's routine. And, like, Danny, are you familiar with Mike Birbiglia, correct?
Yeah, love Mike Birbiglia.
Danny reminds me of Birbiglia's bit about the funniest kid in school, where he's like, everyone's always like, oh, were you the class clown? Were you the funniest kid in school? But he's like, well, let's be honest. The funniest kid in school was just an asshole. He was like just the dude who walked into the classroom and was like, you're fat, you're gay, I'm out of here. And everybody's just like, he's the best. Like, that's Danny's energy, like rolling into every scene. It's just like, hey, I'm goofy and I'm pointing out your flaws. But I do love that they get a nice little dig in there with the awesome I TiVo'd Leno. Like, the I TiVo'd Leno bit that comes up again later on fucking slays me. I love it.
So your story reminds me of a story with my ex. Well, when we started meeting each other's friends, right? So when I started meeting his friends, he started meeting mine. I knew that he was like a socially awkward person, but I didn't know to like what extent or whatever. You know, I just thought, oh, he's a little quiet and introverted. He's not like that with me at all. Like, he's, you know, very talkative. And I think it's because I let him talk and I let him have the space to do that. But in a bigger group, you know, it was more difficult. And then I think that the first time that he met like most like my gay community, my core group of gay queer friends, it was not great because he just was like, you know, I'm you know, it's just you guys know references to things. He didn't know references to anything. Like, he couldn't quote things off the bat and wasn't as like with it in terms of culture, you know, in the way that I am and my friends were. And one thing that he said that like stuck with me, and this was very early on, but it was something he said so earnestly that like I'll never forget, was the fact that he was just like, you know, with my friend group, like, I'm the one who is the one who's the smartest one. Yeah. I'm the one who is the funny one. I'm the one who's got it the most together. And he didn't complete the thought and say, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was implied.
It wasn't saying like, and you guys don't make me feel that way. It was just like, hey, here's some of my good skill sets.
Yeah, well,
here's
like,
my resume.
Part of me was just like, are you going to say that like I'm making you feel bad because I'm being me? Because maybe I am better. Like, now I can say, like, you know, maybe I am better than you.
He was just intimidated by the quotable core queers that you were hanging out with at the time.
And subsequently, like, me, right? And subsequently also me.
Well, and do you feel like, I mean, the Spice Girls said it best, really. Like, if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends. Like, like, I really do. I do value not every single friend in the world, you know what I mean? But like the friends where it's like, hey, if we become an item, going to this person's house on a semi-monthly basis is part of the deal. And if like you can't stand these people or those people don't like you either got to fix that or like this can't continue, because I think every person has been in at least one situation where they picked their significant other over their friendships. And you only have to do it once to know that you will probably never do that again, because it does not work out. A good significant other will actively want you to pursue your friends' opinions and will
Yeah.
will value that you have friends that you can lean on about shit. And someone who wants to make themselves the end all be all of your life and decision making and thought process is not doing that for you. They're doing that for them. Welcome to White People Problems, part dating show. So while we're still on the topic of Danny and Seth, I do want to point out again that Marissa's not the only one who's being stupid about this Oliver thing, because Seth Cohen in this episode and most of next week's episode is just giving bad takes and bad advice left and right to how Ryan should handle this situation. Like, there's a scene, and I actually really do like the way that the dialogue is written, and I like the flow of the conversation, but like, there's a scene where they're going back and forth in the kitchen about Oliver, and like, if the conversation literally ends with Seth being like, I don't know, or you could just ignore it. All right, let's go get fajitas. Like it's so blasé and like the bottom of the barrel of importance to Seth, and it's like, you're not listening to what Ryan is telling you.
Which also, like, just to like put a pause in it for a minute, like, fajitas have got to be the most like aughts.
Yes.
Like, remember when like you would go to Chili's and like the drama of a sizzling cast iron platter of
fajitas.
Meat and onions, like just fajitas. Yeah, like it was so, yeah.
I love that America
like,
has
fajitas.
As much as America changes, one thing that you can always depend on is that we will just roll into a food craze as a group and then never think about that food again a couple years later.
Yeah.
So that bad advice leads to Ryan breaking into the school to look at Oliver's file. And I wrote down the note, I'm so glad Ryan got caught. Because the idea that he could just sneak into this school and do all of this without being caught was fucking insane to me. Like, he wasn't even remotely stealthy or quiet in what he was doing. So if this was going to be a clean getaway, I was going to lose my goddamn mind. Similarly to the only note that I wrote in all caps, which is, I wrote, no, false, I refuse to accept this. I refuse to accept in any scenario where the dean would sit down with Marissa to talk about Ryan under these circumstances. It breaks every rule that I can think of. Like that is some teen drama made up bullshit. That dean would be fired so fucking fast.
What's her name? Dr. what?
Dr. Kim?
Dr. Chow? Something like that? Like, yeah, she does piss me off in this episode more. And like, and then when she's in the room with like Ryan and Sandy and it's like, Harbor has a history of, accepting troubled yet promising student. I was like, you bitch.
Yeah, Dr. Kim not really ever winning me over. Ryan's not doing great either, though. Like, I understand his intentions with stealing that letter. But again, bad look. This is not solving your case. And like, I wonder, here's where you look at things retroactively. Do you think that if he didn't take the letter and Marissa had read that letter, she would start to see the red flags? But the second that Ryan takes the letter, it becomes something that is more nefarious.
Sure. I think Ryan had to take the letter, right? Like,
for plot purposes, he had to take the letter.
I wish Aaron was on this episode because fuck, like as we're talking now, I'm realizing Aaron should be on this episode because the Friends parallels between Ross and Rachel are
thick.
Insane.
It's
very
thick with
very
3
thick.
C's.
Yeah. Oh my god. Like, oof. Yes, they are thick man's ass in this because it's just like you have the first you have the
Ross.
Yes, you have fajitas. Yeah, I have fajitas. You have fajitas. You have the Ross of it all with Danny and Seth.
Yep.
Right? You have Ryan not trusting Marissa and not trusting the other person.
Nope.
Oliver, aka being Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark was not bad by any means. Like Mark was just
look. I know where this story goes next week. Mark never got to that point.
no, no, he did not. But like, it's interesting because like it's just a sign of the insecurity, and like thinking about it now, having rewatched this series a few times already. It's like the whole series in its entirety. It's really interesting because the whole first season is about otherness, about like you are not from this place, you are not of this place. And when you internalizing that otherness leads to insecurity, and that is what's happening with Ryan in this moment. That's where like the bad decisions are happening. Like I don't want to give this show like so much credit, but like that's actually kind of brilliant how they managed to manifest that in like the guy that we're supposed to be, who's our hero. Like he's supposed to be someone who we're ride or die with, and he's making all these terrible decisions.
But I think what makes me exhausted with this show at the same time, right, is like I am enjoying my viewing of the OC for sure. The question for me is, will it be something I revisit? And I think where I struggle with this, and I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, to be honest, but like we are 17 episodes into the first season of this show, and it feels like I've watched 5 seasons of a show. You know what I mean? And it's, but it's because it's like everything that people complained about with the last season of Game of Thrones, right? That like the plot was moving too quick and there wasn't enough time for the characters to develop in a logical way, I feel like has applied to this first season, because like season 1, it's like, let's think of it in like the realms of big bads, right? Like in my head, it's like season 1, your story arc is Ryan and Luke, like the battle of Ryan and Luke for the love of Marissa. Season 2 would be overcoming the Julie Cooper of it all. And that like leads into the Mexico stuff, and it leads into like all of this other stuff. And then like your third season would be the Oliver drama. But like when it's all smashed together like this, it's like Ryan shows up, Ryan and Luke fight a whole bunch, then they become friends, then Marissa almost dies in Mexico, and then Julie Cooper doesn't like Ryan for a couple episodes, but like she learns to begrudgingly tolerate Ryan just in time for fucking Oliver to roll. Like it's just it's exhausting. Like it is so much stuff one after another. And now I'm sitting here knowing that I assume anyway that after next week's episode, Oliver's just like, that's a series close on Oliver, that like we've got 9 more episodes of this season. So what other big bad are we just about to randomly introduce to get us to the end of the season?
To which I will lovingly say, girl.
Hell, with 9 episode at this pace, there might be 3 more big bads that show up and get story arcs. Like I just, it's
girl,
so
this first season. So what you just illustrated, right, is basically the first 4 seasons of Cobra Kai.
Yeah. And so I mean, it's like it's Cobra Kai. It's like, could you imagine? We'll go to our go-to where our friendship was bonded, the inspiration of this podcast. Could you imagine if the first 4 seasons of Gilmore Girls happened in season 1? Like that in one season, you like introduce Dean, you dumb down Dean, Logan shows up, Logan and Dean fight, Logan fucks off to California.
Hold on, Jess. Hold on.
Oh, sorry, Jess. I'm throwing
like,
Jess. I'm getting bad boyfriends all mixed up in my head. Jess shows up, Jess and Dean fight, Jess fucks off to California, and then Rory goes to college, and that's the end of season 1. You'd be like, what the fuck is happening with this show?
No. Yeah. Which all I have to say on the Gilmore Girls is justice for Marty.
Yes. Look, Marty fucked up in season 7, but I don't recognize season 7 as an actual season, so it's fine.
Yes. Yes.
But otherwise, it's all good.
Marty's your never say never again.
Yes, exactly. The only other thing I want to bring up that shows up in my notes is I want to bounce back to Danny because, first of all, the actor who played Danny, I forget his name, but he was
Brett Harrison.
Okay, he was the star of Reaper, which was like a greatly underrated show.
Yeah.
They do such a good job in the later half of this episode with like dunking on. It's that very like 2000 hipster vibe of how they're dunking on him, but Seth is trying to embrace the friend and befriend Danny, and he says, "Hey, we can go to my house. I TiVo'd Leno. Sean William Scott was one of the guests," and he goes, "Nice, Leno and Sean William Scott. Talk about double the comedy." And you're like, man, you're just like fucking hipster dunking the ball on this poor dude. And then Sandy pulls Seth into the kitchen and goes, "You got to get yourself some funnier friends." Like I like that this was like, they're basically trying to make Danny Dane Cook. Like that's the overall basis of this. Like they're just like, all right, who is like the pinnacle of dunkable comedy? And it's like, because he keeps saying you're trying too hard, but then he gives him the bad advice of like, you need to go bigger, man. Like you gotta go bigger with your comedy.
Which, like, girl, don't first of all, like, okay, that's totally normal behavior when you're over someone to just go bigger, to basically give him bad advice. Two, that kitchen scene with Sandy where he's like, that kid's not funny. It's like, what do you say? I love your mother to death, but she's not funny. Gentiles, they just don't get it.
Oh, and he said, what does Danny say to him? He's like, I need to go a little. Oh, he goes, can you like tone down the funny when you're hanging around Summer? Because like she always talks about how funny you are. You and some dude named Captain Oates. Which at that point I did in fact scream. And I was like, Captain Oates is back.
See, when you talked about him in the early episodes, I was like, oh, it's a whole thing.
Yeah,
like,
I really thought that was going to be a throwaway
thing.
Joke, and I would never think of Captain Oates again. But
absolutely not. Wait till we get to season 2.
Is Captain Oates join the main cast? Does he get his own title card in the credits?
Like,
and
in the
introducing
multiverse,
Captain Oates.
the OC is about Captain Oates. Is okay, like.
It's the CEO.
Yeah, it's the CO. Yeah, it's Colorado.
the Captain Oates, the CO. All
right. See what you did there.
This episode is brought to you by Bumble, who says Valentine's Day is just for couples. Just because you're not in a relationship doesn't mean you can't get out there and live your best love life. That's where Bumble comes in. This February 14th, you can flip the script and give those relationshipers a friendly dose of FOMO. Say no to staying in this Valentine's Day and yes to more. More dates, more first kisses, more gossip for the group chat girlies. Do Valentine's your way. Date now on Bumble.
I'm Kyle Kukta, director of The Wound Within and co-host of Horror Movie Night podcast.
And I'm Jeanette Wall, writer of The Wound Within and host of the Horrors of Love podcast.
And we are currently crowdfunding on Seed and Spark to bring this short horror film to life.
A young woman discovers a mysterious lesion on her chest the morning after a disappointing tryst with a new lover. Throughout the rest of her day, she finds that she might not be the only one who's experiencing these unsightly symptoms.
Incentives include opportunities to be part of our podcasts, behind-the-scenes photo books, original soundtrack cassette, and more.
To contribute and make this film a reality, go to seedandspark.com and search The Wound Within.
So let's talk about some music.
Wait, hold on. Oh. Wait, you're just gonna breeze over the fact that Julie Cooper's working in the Newport group and Sam and Jimmy are.
Look, I'll be honest. My eyes glaze over when Julie Cooper shows up on film.
No, you have to pay attention.
I know.
To
no,
her.
Julie. Look, we'll talk about it a little bit. Next episode is definitely a very big Julie Cooper episode, so there will be plenty of Julie Cooper to talk about next week. But yes, Julie Cooper is now working alongside Kirsten. This is a bad move across the board, and I'm saying this knowing what happens next week, but like, working with your significant other is such a bad call.
Don't do it.
Yeah, maybe if you're in completely different departments and different floors or whatever, where it's like, oh, you only see each other if you choose to meet up for lunch, you can maybe make it work. But like, if you're literally going to have the offices next to each other, you're asking for trouble.
No.
You got trouble right here in River City.
if you started a business together,
Yes,
right?
different.
Like, that's one thing.
Yes.
If you were starting a business together, that's one thing.
Or
but
if you met on the work site, maybe. Like, when you get to a certain age, there's only so many ways to meet people. And if it's at work, it's at work. But you do have to be aware that this one better fucking stick. Because if it doesn't, it's trouble. But do not have a job and be like, you know who I want to work with me? My significant other who's looking for work. Like, I have very few circumstances in my life where I've seen that work out for a friend. It's just kind of sped up to the divorce proceedings or the breakup, like every single time.
And then they're in your business.
Yeah.
And if they were good, then it's awkward. It's okay if they're bad.
Look,
like
someone that you and I are pretty friendly with, like that. Not only did that person's significant other bring them into the workplace, but then when like the divorce happened, people preferred the person that they brought in over them because they were a better worker. So like you could also be burning yourself pretty hard in some circumstances.
that's an off-air conversation. I need to know more.
But what I'm saying is like,
Okay.
it doesn't, it is the percentage of it being a good idea is microscopic.
And so, you know how you mentioned, right, that like these 17 episodes of this 27 episode season feel like 4 seasons in one season, right? So we have reached the point where the enemies, Jimmy and Sandy, are now friends.
Yes, and Luke and Ryan.
They were never really enemies to begin with.
But I would say bigger is Luke and Ryan. Luke and Ryan got into how many fistfights in the first 4 episodes? And now, like, Luke is being a better friend to Ryan than fucking Seth is the last couple episodes we've watched.
Yeah, Luke's pulling him aside and being like, you know, like, learn from me, learn from me.
Yeah, no, we'll get into that a little bit more next week because I've been like slowly being like Team Luke, and I think episode 18 pushed me over the edge on like, fuck, I like Luke. I like Luke a lot.
See, we just, all those like really bullying assholes just need to have gay dads. That's all we just need to get their dads. We just need to get their dad's dick down. And that's what, put that on TikTok,
that's
Matt.
That's the official stance of white people problems and OC
yes,
podcast.
Exactly. Everyone needs all you assholes need just a gay dad and you'll be fine. I
like that your advice is literally the same as the problematic advice in Chasing Amy, where it's like all right, let's talk music. So we got not that many songs in here. Mosquitoes with the song Boombox. This plays when we first see Danny at school. The group Clinic does the song Come Into Your Room. And this is when Ryan is trying to look into Oliver's file. New Amsterdam's Spoils for the Spoiled is played while Seth and Ryan are arguing over the letter. As Ryan watches Marissa walk off with Oliver, Damian Rice's Cannonball is playing. And The Thrill's Big Sur is the closing song of the episode. Now, I think that there's the correct answer, and then there's what I wrote down. So you're usually good for the correct answer. What is the song of this episode?
See, I'll just go with what I liked, just because of how it fit into the introduction. It's Mosquitoes. It's the Danny song, because it's just like...
All right, so we're both going off the beaten path then this week.
Yeah, because I don't know. It was just... I also kind of am here for Brett Harrison, which like is completely on brand for me because like I have this like long time crush on fucking what's his name Adam Brody.
Yeah.
So of course the alternate universe, the multiverse of Adam Brody, which is Brett Harrison, I also like. Big fan of Reaper. Big fan of Grounded for Life. Do you remember
I forgot about Grounded for Life.
Yeah, he was the sister's boyfriend and the older sister's boyfriend in Grounded for Life. So I also just like as a way to kind of feature the introduction of Brett Harrison. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
So question:
Yeah.
Is this a one shot for Danny here, or am I going to see more Danny in the future?
I think this. I believe it is a one shot because Danny doesn't show up in the next episode, right?
And this is
Yeah,
pretty
we're
close
done.
to when Reaper debuted as well. I want to say Reaper
we're
was
done
the
with
next
Danny.
year. Okay, so
That's a season wrap. That's a series wrap on Danny.
I'm pretty confident that the correct answer, if you were asking a person who's just like, well, it's the most important moment in the episode or whatever, would say Damian Rice Cannonball. I have always been a very lukewarm Damian Rice fan.
Sure.
Like, there's like 2 or 3 songs. I get his vibe. It is what it is. But one of my favorite albums of all time is the Get Up Kids album, Something to Write Home About. And when the Get Up Kids took a brief hiatus, the lead vocalist formed New Amsterdams. So you better believe when I heard possibly my favorite, if not like definitely in my top 3 favorite New Amsterdam songs playing in the background of a scene, that I jumped up and started singing along with it and probably missed some of the dialogue. So it's got to be spoils for the spoiled for me on this one. Like, and again, another one of those ones where it's like fucking home run song choice for what Seth would be listening to. Like absolutely killing it. So yeah, neither one of us agreed. And I think that neither one of us picked a song that the actual audience would agree with either. So, all right, interesting. All right, Joe, the final part of our show, we talk about some pop culture stuff going on, something that we watch pop culturally. I'll start this time. I usually toss it to you, but I'll start. I have watched twice now, in its entirety, Gravity Falls. I watched it for the very first time in January, and then I saw that Shout Factory was about to go out of print on the series DVD collection, so I picked it up and watched it again in March. So, are you familiar with Gravity Falls?
I've heard of it. I'm not familiar with it. It's a TV show, right?
It's a cartoon on Disney. It was very short-lived. Only got 2 seasons, which, you know, in cartoons is about like, I think it's like 30 to 40 episodes.
Sure.
About.
Yeah.
But what I liked about it was that it is the first, it almost feels similar to something like Buffy, right? First season, very much Monster of the Week, right? You're just establishing that Gravity Falls is a strange little town where these 2 kids are staying. It's about 2 kids who are staying with their grand uncle. They refer to him, their grunkle, their great uncle. And he owns like an oddity shop in this town where reportedly various like cryptozoological creatures are discovered. And throughout the first season, it's literally like a Monster of the Week type thing. Different monsters show up. They try to figure out how to stop the monsters, but they're also trying to figure out why this particular town is such like a hot spot for it. The second season is just this serialized, you have to watch it in order. I don't know how they could possibly air these episodes out like in syndication, like not in a specific order, because it's literally like a 10-part final episode of like unlocking all the mysteries. All of these throwaway Monster of the Week characters all come back at once. And it's like up to it's very much like Monster Squad, the kids cartoon series.
But
it's,
that's why you love it.
Yeah, but it's so well written. What's her face? Kristen Shaw is the voice of the daughter, and she's just so funny. She's one of those I mean, she's great as a voice actress anyway. Like if you watch it, I am sure that you will walk away from the fact that like if you were a kid and you knew her character in real life, you would be like, that needs to be my best friend. Like she's just got that like positive, jolly energy that is it's hard to not have a smile on your face while you're watching it. So if you have for any reason not seen Gravity Falls, really highly recommend it. It's on Disney Plus, as is pretty much anything that Disney has ever produced at this point. So go check it out.
Okay. I I want to uplift the Oscars from this year. It was my favorite Oscars that I've ever watched. And not just because all the people I wanted to win won, because not everybody that I wanted to win didn't win. Love Jamie Lee Curtis. It should have been Stephanie Hsu. Controversial opinion. But yeah, so the Oscars from this year, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Ke Huy Quan, everybody, all of that. Love it.
Yeah.
Great. What's it called? A ceremony. Also, it didn't feel like it was a long time either. Like, it didn't feel like sometimes the Oscars are just a huge slog, but also probably because I actually liked the winners this time.
Yeah. I had to get my parents' Fubo account so I could watch it because it was not available on like anything. I was like, I'm paying $60 for Sling and I can't even watch the goddamn Oscars. This is ridiculous. I missed maybe the first hour, which is a bummer because I missed both Jamie Lee Curtis and Short Round's. I keep forgetting his actual name and I feel like a total asshole for referring to him as Short Round. But
Ke Huy Quan.
There we go. I missed both of their speeches. I had to watch them later on. And I mean, beautiful moments. But yeah, there's a thing that I talk about sometimes in wrestling where people will sometimes complain that like an ending in a wrestling match, especially around WrestleMania season, is too predictable. But if it's the right call, I don't care. And like, that's kind of how I felt watching the Oscars, where it's like, it started to become very clear that it was definitely going to be an Everything Everywhere All at Once sweep. And that's the correct call. It's like, you can't be angry at that. Like, it's like, these are all of the people who should be winning. And even in the case where they didn't win, when they didn't win for Best Original Song, giving it to RRR was the correct call. Like everything was exact. It was almost one of those things where things were going so well. I was expecting some like curveball at the end that like Best Picture was going to go to like Top Gun Maverick or Avatar.
All Quiet on the Western Front is what people were saying.
Like something where you're just like, what? So yeah, it was a very good Oscars, and that was a fun cultural moment. I love those things, right? Like, social media is a fucking virus, but it's also great on like Oscars night, where we're all like just a very civil agreement of where they have succeeded and fucked up.
Yeah. Oscars are one of the few monocultures that we have left, right? It's one of the few things where it's appointment viewing. We can all come together, and then like it's the wake of it afterwards, people, if you didn't watch it, you don't get the jokes, you don't get the references, or you have to go and watch the clips. But like in the moment, it's like, oh, I feel like I'm a part of a conversation.
Mm-hmm. You're right. That's because like, I don't think that people rally as strong for the Grammys, maybe for the Emmys, a very specific subset for the Tonys. But I think the Oscars and the Emmys are probably the biggest net of like everybody who care, especially that runs in our world. Like, we give a shit. Like, even when I feel like it's I think I literally post on Facebook, like, the Oscars is the dumbest thing that is the most important thing to me. Like, because it is, at the end of the day, a bunch of rich, famous people patting each other on the back. But I'm so goddamn invested.
I remember when Babylon's trailers were coming out, and I was like, if I fucking see this movie at the Oscars, I will be so fucking pissed, because it's another Damien Chazelle, like, fucking Hollywood jerk off, like masturbatory of it all. And I'm like, no, this is Everything Everywhere All at Once's year. It was the most, and that's the other thing, is that like, when you think about like the top grossing films of 2022, they were all established properties. Yeah. And in this way, it's like, no, we had something different, and that's what won. So yeah, I'm very happy.
No, it was a good Oscars year, and similar to the Oscars, where a bunch of creative people are in a rivalry against each other, not unlike Seth Cohen and Danny.
Not unlike that.
We have closed the book on yet another episode of White People Problems. Tune in next week for the epic conclusion, I can only assume, of the Oliver saga. So stay tuned for more White People Problems.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.